Welcome to day 3 of the 30-day English shadowing challenge. Today, we are going to practice something extremely important for English learners: how to speak English when you feel nervous. You may know many English words. You may understand English when you listen. You may even know the grammar. But when you have to speak, suddenly your mind becomes blank. You start thinking about mistakes. You worry about your pronunciation. You may become afraid that someone will judge you. If you have ever felt this way, today's lesson is for you. Feeling nervous while speaking English is completely normal. Many English learners experience the same thing. Sometimes, the problem isn't that you don't know English. The problem is that you're thinking too much while speaking. You are trying to choose the perfect word. You are checking your grammar. You are translating everything in your head. And while you're doing all of that, the conversation is moving forward. Today, we're going to practice how to handle those situations. The first thing you need to remember is this: you don't need perfect English to communicate. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need to know every word. You simply need to communicate your idea clearly. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. So don't wait until your English becomes perfect before you start speaking. Start speaking now. Your English will improve through speaking. I don't need perfect English to communicate. I don't need perfect grammar. I don't need a perfect accent. I don't need to know every word. I just need to communicate my idea. I can speak even when I make mistakes. I will improve through practice. I don't have to wait until I'm perfect. I can start speaking now. Sometimes you are speaking English and suddenly your mind goes blank. You know what you want to say, but you can't find the words. Don't panic. Don't immediately stop speaking. Take a short breath and give yourself a moment. You can use simple expressions to buy yourself some time. For example, let me think for a moment. That's a good question. Let me see. How can I explain this? These expressions give your brain time to organize your thoughts. Let's practice those expressions. Let me think for a moment. That's a good question. Let me see. How can I explain this? Give me a second to think. I know what I want to say, but let me put it into words. I'm trying to find the right word. Let me explain it another way. These expressions are completely natural. Use them instead of becoming silent. Let me think for a moment. That's a good question. Let me see. How can I explain this? Give me a second to think. I'm trying to find the right word. Let me put it into words. Let me explain it another way. I just need a moment to think. Another common problem is not knowing a particular English word. Many learners immediately stop speaking. Don't do that. If you don't know one word, explain the idea using different words. For example, imagine you don't know the word umbrella. You can say, it's something we use when it rains. The other person will probably understand you. You don't need to know every word. You just need to find another way to explain your idea. Let's practice this skill. If you forget the word refrigerator, you can say, it's the machine we use to keep food cold. If you forget the word scissors, you can say, it's something we use to cut paper. If you forget the word wallet, you can say, it's something I keep my money and cards in. You are still communicating. That's what matters. If I don't know a word, I can explain it. I can describe it. I can give an example. I can use simpler words. I don't have to stop speaking. I can find another way to express my idea. I don't need to know every English word. I just need to communicate. Now let's talk about mistakes. You will make mistakes when speaking English. That's normal. Don't stop every time you make a small grammar mistake. Sometimes learners say a sentence and immediately stop because they realize they made a mistake. Instead, simply correct yourself and continue. For example, sorry, I went to the market yesterday. That's completely natural. You corrected yourself and continued speaking. Let's practice. Sorry, I went there yesterday. Sorry, she works at a bank. I have seen him yesterday. Actually, I saw him yesterday. He don't like it. Sorry, he doesn't like it. I am living here since 2020. Sorry, I've been living here since 2020. Don't feel embarrassed when you correct yourself. Self-correction is part of natural speaking. Sorry, let me correct that. What I meant was, let me say that again. That's not exactly what I meant. Let me put it another way. I used the wrong word. What I wanted to say was. These expressions can help you correct yourself naturally. Sometimes someone speaks English too quickly. You understand some words, but you don't understand the whole sentence. Don't simply smile and pretend you understand. Ask the person politely to repeat it. You can say, sorry, could you say that again? Could you speak a little more slowly? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you explain what you mean? These are useful and polite expressions. Sorry, could you say that again? Could you speak a little more slowly? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you explain what you mean? Could you repeat the last part? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. Could you give me an example? Would you mind explaining that again? Remember this important point. You don't have to pretend that you understand everything. Asking someone to repeat something is not embarrassing. In fact, it shows that you are interested in understanding correctly. Instead of staying silent, ask a question. Instead of saying, yes, when you don't understand, ask for clarification. Communication becomes easier when both people know what the other person means. Here are some natural expressions you can use. What do you mean by that? Could you explain that? Could you give me an example? Do you mean that? Could you clarify that? I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain it in a simpler way? Can you give me a little more information? What do you mean by that? Could you explain that? Could you give me an example? Do you mean that? Could you clarify that? I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain it in a simpler way? Can you give me a little more information? Sometimes you understand the question, but you don't know how to answer immediately. Don't panic. You can take a few seconds. You can say, that's an interesting question. Let me think about that. I've never thought about that before. That's something I need to think about. Well, there are a few things to consider. These expressions give you time to organize your answer. That's an interesting question. Let me think about that. I've never thought about that before. That's something I need to think about. Well, there are a few things to consider. Let me organize my thoughts. I need a moment to think about that. That's a difficult question, but I'll try to answer it. One major reason people become nervous is that they translate every sentence from their first language into English. This takes too much time. Instead, start thinking in simple English. Don't try to translate complicated ideas. Use the English you already know. If you want to say something complicated but don't know how, simplify it. Simple English is still English. For example, instead of trying to say a complicated sentence, use 2 or 3 simple sentences. Don't worry about sounding sophisticated. Your goal is to be understood. Instead of saying, due to the unexpected circumstances, I was unable to. You can simply say, something unexpected happened, so I couldn't. Both communicate the idea. Simple English can be powerful. I don't have to use complicated words. I can use simple English. I can explain my ideas clearly. Simple English is still English. I don't need to sound perfect. I need to communicate clearly. I can use short sentences. I can explain difficult ideas in simple ways. When you feel nervous, slow down. You don't have to speak quickly. Speaking quickly doesn't mean speaking fluently. In fact, speaking too quickly can make you make more mistakes. Take your time. Breathe naturally. Finish one sentence before starting another. Give yourself permission to pause. A short pause is much better than saying, after every word. I don't have to speak quickly. I can speak slowly and clearly. I can take my time. I can pause when I need to. I can breathe naturally. I can finish one sentence before starting another. A short pause is okay. I don't need to rush. Your body language can also affect how confident you feel. Sit or stand comfortably. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Look at the person when you're speaking. Don't constantly look down. Take a breath before you begin. Speak clearly. Even if you feel nervous inside, calm body language can help you feel more confident. Sometimes we're not afraid of English. We're afraid of what other people might think. We think, what if they laugh? What if they notice my mistake? What if my pronunciation isn't good? But remember something, most people are focused on themselves. They are not analyzing every word you say. And even if someone notices a mistake, it's okay. Making a mistake doesn't make you less intelligent. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have an accent. It's okay to pause. It's okay to forget a word. It's okay to ask someone to repeat something. It's okay to correct yourself. I don't need everyone's approval. I just need to keep improving. Sometimes another person may correct your English. Don't feel embarrassed. Listen carefully. Thank them. Then repeat the correct sentence. For example, if someone corrects your grammar, you can say, thank you for correcting me. That's helpful. I'll remember that. Thanks. I'll try to use it correctly next time. This turns a mistake into a learning opportunity. Thank you for correcting me. That's helpful. I'll remember that. I'll try to use it correctly next time. I appreciate the correction. I'm still learning. Every correction helps me improve. I can learn from my mistakes. Sometimes the hardest part is simply starting. You may know exactly what you want to say, but you're afraid to begin. So use a simple opening. Hi, I'd like to ask you something. Excuse me, could you help me? Can I ask you a quick question? I wanted to talk to you about something. These simple openings can help you start a conversation. I'd like to ask you something. Could you help me with something? Can I ask you a quick question? I wanted to talk to you about something. I'd like to know more about this. Could you tell me a little more? I have a question about that. Once you start speaking, don't worry about saying something impressive. Ask simple follow-up questions. For example, really? How did that happen? What happened next? How did you feel about it? What do you think? How long have you been doing that? Why did you decide to do that? These questions help keep the conversation going. Really? How did that happen? What happened next? How did you feel about it? What do you think? How long have you been doing that? Why did you decide to do that? Could you tell me more about it? You don't always have to agree with someone. You can express your opinion politely. You can say, I think. In my opinion. Personally, I feel that. From my point of view. I see it a little differently. I'm not completely sure I agree. I understand your point, but these expressions help you sound confident and respectful. I think. In my opinion. Personally, I feel that. From my point of view. I see it a little differently. I'm not completely sure I agree. I understand your point, but that's how I see it. Before speaking English, take a slow breath. Remind yourself that you don't need to be perfect. Think about your main idea. Start with a simple sentence. Speak slowly. If you make a mistake, correct it and continue. If you don't know a word, explain it differently. If you don't understand someone, ask them to repeat it. That's how confident speakers handle difficult moments. Take a breath. Think about your main idea. Start with a simple sentence. Speak slowly. Correct yourself if necessary. Explain the word another way. Ask for clarification when you need it. Keep the conversation going. Don't give up. Now imagine someone asks you, tell me about yourself. Don't panic. Start simply. You can say, sure. My name is. I currently live in. I've been learning English because. In my free time, I enjoy. My goal is to. You don't need a complicated answer. Just speak clearly and naturally. Now imagine someone asks, why are you learning English? You can say, I'm learning English because I want to communicate more confidently. I want to speak without feeling nervous. I want to improve my career opportunities. And I want to communicate with people from different backgrounds. Now try answering the question in your own words. Imagine someone asks, what do you do when you make a mistake? You can say, I try not to panic. I correct myself if necessary. Then I continue speaking. I don't want one mistake to stop me from communicating. I try to learn from my mistakes and improve. Now say your own answer aloud. The way you speak to yourself matters. Instead of saying, my English is terrible, say, my English is improving. Instead of saying, I can't speak English, say, I'm learning to speak English. Instead of saying, I always make mistakes, say, I'm learning from my mistakes. Instead of saying, I'm too nervous, say, I can stay calm and take my time. My English is improving. I'm learning to speak English. I can learn from my mistakes. I can stay calm. I can take my time. I can speak slowly and clearly. I can explain my ideas. I can ask questions. I can ask for help. I can continue even when I make mistakes. Now it's your turn. Imagine that you are talking to someone in English for the first time. Introduce yourself. Talk about where you live. Talk about what you do. Talk about what you enjoy. Talk about why you are learning English. Don't stop to correct every mistake. Keep speaking for 1 full minute. Now imagine that you are having a conversation and you don't understand something. Practice saying, sorry, I didn't understand that. Could you say it again? Could you speak a little more slowly? Could you give me an example? I understand now. Thank you. Repeat these sentences until they feel natural. Now imagine that you forget an important English word. Don't stop. Explain the word using other words. Say, I don't know the exact word, but it's something that. You use it when. It's similar to. It's a kind of. I mean. This skill can help you continue speaking instead of becoming silent. I don't need to be perfect to speak English. I don't need to know every word. I don't need to speak quickly. I don't need to hide my mistakes. I can take my time. I can ask questions. I can correct myself. I can explain things in simple English. I can keep speaking. I am becoming more confident every day. Listen carefully and repeat. I can speak English even when I feel nervous. I can take a breath and continue. I can find another way to explain my idea. I can ask someone to repeat something. I can correct myself naturally. I can speak slowly and clearly. I can make mistakes and keep going. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to keep practicing. Remember, confidence doesn't come before practice. Confidence comes from practice. The more you speak, the more comfortable you become. The more mistakes you make and correct, the more you learn. The more you listen and shadow, the more natural your English becomes. So don't wait until you feel confident. Start speaking. Confidence will come with you. Congratulations! You have completed day 3 of the 30-day English shadowing challenge. Today, you learned how to handle nervousness while speaking English. You learned how to buy time, ask for clarification, explain unknown words, correct yourself, express your opinions, and keep a conversation going. Most importantly, remember this. You don't need perfect English to communicate. You just need the courage to start speaking. Listen, pause, repeat, speak aloud, make mistakes, correct yourself, and keep going. Every time you speak, you are becoming a little more confident. I'll see you in day 4 of the 30-day English shadowing challenge. Keep practicing, keep speaking, keep improving. See you in the next lesson.